studio, Brigadier General in the Reserves, Israel Relik Shafir. So we know that Yoav Gallant is meeting with a whole range of top officials. They're discussing critical security measures necessary for the safe return of northern Israeli residents to their homes. I see a wry smile on your face when I say that there are tens of thousands of residents as we speak in hotels, in B&Bs, with relatives far from their homes, waiting for that green light, so to speak, when they can go back home. That looks a long way off right now. Your sense?
If a war breaks out, then it is a long way off. And they will be joined by probably other elements in the north who will be under attack, infrastructure. But let me add a possibility. What is happening now is a classic Netanyahu move, who's playing the Republicans against the Democrats.
How so?
Because Gallant didn't meet with a Democrat. He met with a staunch supporter of Trump,
Lindsey Graham.
Right, and who put his foot down, so to speak, before he meets with the Democratic administration. So obviously, Netanyahu is doing what he's best at, is playing the Republicans against the Democrats in order to get what he wants, and it may work for him. Because right now we're in June, coming up to the debate, and elections are just around the corner. So the president is limited in what he can do to pressure Israel, at least on the surface. And as Netanyahu raised the issue of the munition from below the surface, even if it doesn't exist, it's still a pressure point on the Biden administration against the pressures they've put on Israel. So, and it might work. And his defense minister is just a kind of a stooge in that game as far as the politics are concerned. So this is an interesting move. There's a lot that we don't know, but at least on the surface, that's what I see now. About the North, Israel doesn't want a war. And you can see this by the information given on the Beirut airport that actually insinuates that there's a large target there that might demolish the whole of the airport if it is being bombed by the Air Force. So watch out. That may be a strike that will precede everything else and will cause a lot of damage to Lebanon before the game even starts. So these are the saber rattlings that we're seeing that are taken by both sides, with each side hoping that it won't come into fruition.
It's interesting, the connection between the developments inside the Gaza Strip and what could transpire up north. We know Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to Israeli media overnight, and he said Israel is prepared to pause fighting in Gaza for a partial deal in exchange for the return of a number of hostages, but insists the war will not end until the terror group is destroyed. That's upsetting a lot of people, saying he is kicking the can down the road, so to speak, because when exactly would the terror group be fully destroyed? What does this mean? What are the implications for those waiting for word on a deal?
Well, let's put those aside for a second. What he's doing is putting a lot of pressure on the Americans, on Qatar, and obviously on Hamas, who we hope are close to capitulation as far as their holding power is concerned. For the families, it's a sad moment and even tragic, but you can't say that they were not aware that this is the Israeli policy. Netanyahu was dragged into the agreement to stop the war, and he used the first moment that he had to sort of kick the bucket. Is it Israel's interests in the long run? Well, it really depends on your point of view. Strategically, it's the right thing to do, is play tough until the last man standing. As far as showing empathy to the families, it's another brick in the wall. of his inability to show empathy and sympathy to the families of the hostages.
Brigadier General in the Reserves, Israel Relik Shafir, always appreciate your insights.